Board Wrestling Live here on another beautiful afternoon down here in Central Florida, and I've got one of the great coaches around our country, big into the wrestling community. At one point, he was the executive director of Nebraska USA. He was also highly involved in the Nebraska RTC, and may still roll around with that. And obviously, he still helps when he can. But now he's found his way over to Nebraska Wesleyan. So he's got all his heart and love and passion into the program there as the assistant wrestling coach and helping them recruit. He was a four-year starter at University of Nebraska in Lincoln, which is right down the street from where he coaches now. He was a Freestyle All-American, part of the Big 12 championship team, two-time Utah State champ, and he walked away with a great diploma from a good program down there in Lincoln, Nebraska. And he's here trying to give back to the program. And if you're in Nebraska, he's getting his real estate license too. So hit him up. But
Thank you.
Man, it's really nice to meet you, Rob. Coach Sanders, man, thanks for coming on. It's always good to meet more people. And hopefully I get a chance to see you down the road. I don't know. I know you were involved in Nebraska USA. I don't know if you'll still maybe be on the Fargo staff and come over to Fargo a little bit. I know we see some college assistants and coaches do that too. But anyway, welcome, man. Tell us about your program, Nebraska Wesleyan. It's a Division III program down there in Lincoln. You got obviously a beautiful room. I see it right there behind me. Welcome, man. Welcome. How's the program?
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Daniel. So our school had wrestling back in the mid-'70s and early '80s, and they dropped the program. And then about 7 years ago, the university wanted to join the Iowa Conference with Wartburg, Loras, all those top wrestling schools. And they said, you can join our conference, but you have to add wrestling. So then they went on the wrestling search for a head coach, and they landed on Brandon Bradley, who helped start Ferrum College down in Virginia, another Division III school. So they really just chose him because he had that experience of starting a new program. And so he moved up here, didn't know anybody. The first day he moved to Lincoln, he walked right into Mark Manning's office at the University of Nebraska, introduced himself, and it just so happened that evening I was running a high school practice with the Nebraska RTC. And so Coach Manning, my college coach, said, Rob is running a practice upstairs, show up and see what happens. And so he came up to practice that evening, and I met him, and I was a year or two into my Nebraska USA wrestling stuff, trying to spread USA wrestling, freestyle Greco throughout the state. And he needed to recruit the state and figure out, just build relationships. So he drove the Wesleyan vehicle, and I rode with him. We drove 6 hours to Scottsbluff, Nebraska, which is in the western side of the state. We did a 3-hour clinic and drove back to Lincoln the same day. And took me about 4 months to want to get on board officially, which was okay because he had the first year to recruit before we started competing.
Oh, the rest is history. So you've been there, it's got to be 6 years now. How many years have you been there now?
Since basically 4 months after he got here. So January.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been, I always forget that COVID year.
At least 6 years or something.
Yeah.
I can't believe that COVID's that many years behind us. It feels like just yesterday this thing shut us all down. Well, everybody but wrestling. We were still wrestling in back doors, but everyone else shut down. Yeah. The sport that has the most contact had the least issues. And I think, because, you wrestle with the same person typically, like you're not going to, the 125 isn't switching up and going wrestling with the heavyweight. So I think the contact is more one-on-one. So it kind of is a better thing. But it did hit our sport. I mean, last year, it was still going around. I saw some of it hit us. I know my wife got it. We traveled to North Dakota and she came back with it. So it happens. When you got 6,200 kids in a gym, it's not just COVID. You're going to get the flu, you're going to get a cold, you're going to get sneezing. I mean, it's just the way it goes, right?
Absolutely.
And that was my first time experience that event. I'm sure being with the part of the country you're in, you've probably experienced it multiple times. And what a venue! What a venue! And I can't wait to get back with Team Florida this year. Um, and we'll be there. Is that a place that we'll see you? Are you going to come out and try to talk to some kids and see if you can do some recruiting? Will we see you come and check it out? How far is? I'm my geography is terrible in my head. How far are you from that side of from that part of the world?
Um, Fargo's. So I used to go every year with Nebraska USA Wrestling. We go there and we go to Tulsa for junior duels. Fargo is 4 to 6 hours. I want to say maybe 5 in there.
Oh, so not too bad for you.
Yeah.
It's like me driving down to the Keys to see my dad.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
so man, so how many kids you got on your team?
Yeah, so this past season we had our biggest roster ever, and it was we had 40 guys on the team. And so, as you can see behind you, that's our room. We have 2 full mats. It was a little packed at times. When we would go live, we'd have 157 on down competing, while the 65 through heavyweights were standing on the wall, kind of keeping guys separate and making sure they didn't hit each other. But we had 20 freshmen. It's our biggest freshman class ever, and
Nice.
16 of them were not from the state of Nebraska, which was quite a bit difference from our first couple years where we had only Nebraska kids.
Well, listen, I think that the Division Three is filled with amazing teams and amazing talent, and there's so many opportunities to be had there. I got to travel. I was telling you before we got on, I got to travel the country last year, and I got to visit a multitude of Division Two, Division Three schools, and it was really cool to experience that and talk to you coaches, and being that I have this kind of platform and I'm around a lot of kids. The first thing I came back and told kids, and I'll let you touch on this, is they asked me, hey, what was it like? What was this? And I said, well, all the coaches knew that that he was a wrestler because that's why we were there, right? Um, so they never even asked us any questions about wrestling. It was all about our academics and our character, and a lot of character questions, a lot of academic questions. More of that. Yeah, I mean, did the coach and Daniel shoot shit about wrestling? They talked a little bit like that stuff. But how important is it? And I've based on the dollars and cents that I saw in the recruiting process with my son, man, how important is the academic side for these kids?
It's huge. It's one of the first questions that I ask once I find out a wrestler is interested in wrestling in college is what's the GPA and ACT score like? What are they like off the mat? What kind of do they have any leadership qualities? We've been very fortunate at Wesleyan that we haven't had any kids get in trouble with the law, and I mean
Always a good thing.
yes, a little different than when I was in school. And I think at the Division I level, sometimes you get those blue chip recruits that are crazy on the mat and there's no switch, so they're completely like that off the mat. But
Yeah, and talking about that, obviously you're looking for character kids. We know they've got to get the grades to get in, and you mentioned Division One. I've heard it, right? Being where I'm at, being around kids, and I get it. There's a lot of kids out there that, you know, they're told or they're coached up or they've got this belief system in them that it's like Division One or bust. And I think getting to see the landscape, because I didn't know, I was never a parent of an athlete until I was a parent of an athlete, right? And now going through that, I got to see how many opportunities there are out there, not just Division One, Division Two, Division Three, like yourself. Um, you were a Division One athlete. You lived that lifestyle, um, and I'm sure you would do that again. But talking to all these kids out there that believe that, um, why would you say, hey, listen, look at a Division III school like Nebraska Wesleyan and consider it?
Yeah. Really, if you're a wrestler that wants a lot of personal attention and basically a system that if you follow the system, you're going to succeed, then Division III is a great opportunity for that. Just because you're going to be on a smaller campus, and being on a smaller campus, your school is likely a little bit enrollment driven. And so the teachers have to teach. Like if there's students in a small school failing classes, then administration is going to come to the teachers. Unlike a big school that has maybe 20,000 students, if you fail your chemistry class that has 400 kids in it, there's another 100 kids waiting to get in. And not like, I'm not trying to bash any Division I teachers or anything like that, but I know one stat that we have at Wesleyan is 90% of our professors have their doctorates or the PhD. And
It's awesome.
I know that our head coach, Brandon Bradley, he will get an email from teachers, even if our guys are going to class, but if they just have their hoodies pulled down and they're sitting in the corner not participating, he'll get an email before practice saying so-and-so was on his phone, not paying attention and not contributing to class.
And that's important, because now that I experienced, and I go back to that, I was just a parent on the road last summer going to meet everybody out there, right? And the parents interview you too, right? The parents want to know, I'm giving you my child. I've been able to direct him and control him to make sure classwork is done, homework is done, the least amount of curse words come out of his mouth that we can control,
Sure.
right? Or he's home by a certain time, or, we've been able to kind of guide him and control that in our bubble. And why should I trust my child with Rob Sanders and the Wesleyan program, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So not even starting with myself in the program, part of the reason I came to Lincoln from Utah when I was 18 years old and barely had hair in my armpits, Lincoln is one of the biggest, safest cities in America. I remember seeing that stat. May have changed a little bit, but there's if you drive an hour east to Omaha, it's a little bit different, but Lincoln's very safe. It's very relationship focused. I'm in the construction and real estate industry right now, so I see how much if you do something wrong in business or if you're not a good person, the word gets around quickly. So it's a nice place because you have all the amenities that you need to not be bored. But then you have, we kind of have our own small campus, kind of like a small town within Lincoln, to where we're not in the downtown busy part of Lincoln, not near University of Nebraska-Lincoln, where it's just hustle and bustle. It's really quiet over on our end of town. And myself, I have an 8-year-old son, 5-year-old daughter, and 3-year-old son. So talking to parents about, yeah,
about that is, yeah, and I ask you those questions because I think coming on here and speaking to at least through my platform and talking to the kids in Florida, where most of my viewers are, but and also in the South and around the nation. But a lot of parents want to know. And then the other big thing that I hear a lot is there's so many Division III schools, but they don't give us any money, right? And parents are, obviously not everybody can spend $50,000 a year, $40,000 a year, 30, and to put their kid in a college. So a lot of times these really good programs that are in the Division III, I think the perception is, and I've heard it because listen, we chose a Division III school, right? So I understand. And I think the perception is that they're not going to get any help because that's been the chatter, right? And I don't know if that's part of the ploy for other conferences to try to pull from there? Or I know you don't give scholarships. I get that, but I mean, there's so many more opportunities. I think people out there, what do you say to that says, well, they tell me I can't get money at Division III level. I mean, I would say baloney because I've already experienced it. But what do you tell parents when they're coming in and they're competing you with maybe an NAIA school or a Division II school, which I mean, those are kind of, I would say those kind of pancake you, right?
Sure.
What is something you tell the parents? Go get good grades, or
Yeah, I would say
yeah.
if they're juniors, we say if you get your grades up, it can be thousands of dollars that you can get in scholarships. And while Division III can't technically give athletic scholarships, there's I guess non-governmental need-based, basically our academic and financial departments, they have some flexibility in making it work for kids. So like just say maybe we're $3,000 more than a local NAIA school, but they like us better if we came down another 1,500 or $2,000. Then if we did that, would you commit to us? And so I don't get
You're
involved in
jumping
that.
up and down on the desk. That's all the head coach. But I think also, I mean, tell people, listen, a presidential scholarship is worth how much money?
That's a lot.
I mean, twenty to $30,000 at some places.
Yeah.
And a presidential scholarship is based on your academics. First of all, not even for Division III schools. I have friends not friends, but I have friends, kids who are now at and wrestling at Division I schools, and they told me 85% of the money they got was from the academic side. So not just Division III, you have to get your grades up unless, I mean, even if you're a super duper 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 athlete, but it's important if you want to get some money. That's one place to look. Yeah, and a lot of government stuff, but I would just tell people go out and look at the school and interview the school and interview the coaches. You know, go to Nebraska Wesleyan and talk to Rob Sanders as one of your pick, and see if that fits for you as the child and for you as the parent. And then I think if you go into it thinking, well, I only want to hear how much money I'm going to get. I only want to hear how much money I'm going to get. Then I don't think you're going to find the right place for your child. I think you should work it the other way around. I think you should find the right place for your child and then discuss the money. Because do they have the major, I mean, let's be honest, your child in this sport, there's not really a pro wrestling thing, right? So let's be honest, I think go sit with Rob Sanders, sit with the head coach, sit with Nebraska Wesleyan, and interview them. And if it's a place you want to be, then you talk about that, because unless you're one of the 2% that get offered these amazing offers because you're an elite athlete, but the other 98% are doing the same thing every other kid is doing. And then only 7% get to play college sports or something like that. So it's not, and that's total, right? So I would say interview the school, interview the place, interview the coach. And if it feels comfortable to you, if Nebraska Wesleyan's the place, then I would sit down with Rob and his head coach and say, okay, how can we make this work? As opposed to the first question off the bat is, well, how much money can you give me? Well, if you don't like it here, you know, I mean, I'm much older, so I've been in sales my whole life. It's like, how much can you sell me that for? Well, do you like it? Do you want it? Is it
Right.
something that works for you? Can we do that first? Let's see if it's valuable to you. And then we can talk about the money. But if I don't have if my dorms have no air condition and your kid doesn't want to sweat 12 months out of the year, if my dorms are only offer 4 to a room and not 2 to a room, is that something you like? If I don't have the major that you want, that's something you got to learn. I mean, there's so much more than just being the athlete. I think most parents should look at all that. I mean, what do you say?
So for us, it's free to apply. So we start with that.
Right.
It only costs your time to go through the process of applying and seeing if you get accepted. That's like you got to take care of those things first. But yeah, it has to be a fit because you're going to be with us for 4 years. And as much as the parents interview us, we interview the parents too, because we have a parents club, like they have their own Facebook page. So the mom in New York and the mom in California can see how their wrestlers are doing, and the local moms that are in Lincoln, Omaha, they can take those kids, uh, take them in for the weekend and feed them a hot, fresh meal, and you just kind of
And
take care of
that's
them.
all important. That's all important. Like, and meet some of the kids on the team, right? And then you can see what kind of characters that these coaches are bringing in, right? And or is that what you want to be around? Is that the kids that you want your kid with? Does your kid look? Nobody gets along with everybody 100%, right? But I know that was a lot of stuff. My wife made a whole checkbox. I would recommend to all the parents out there, make a spreadsheet, make what your hot buttons are, and as you go and look at these schools, check off an X, check X. When you get down through it, you're going to narrow it down, and you're going to see, wow, and maybe it's Nebraska Wesleyan. You go, wow, I checked more boxes there than I checked here. Let me move that to the next step, right? Let me move this one to the next step. And getting to go through that and experience that, I'd recommend it. And you guys are doing amazing up there. Do you guys have a women's program as well, or is it just boys right now?
Just boys right now.
Is women something that you guys are looking to extend into, or right now just boys? But the reason I ask is there's going to be ladies that watch the show too, and then they're looking for homes, right? So,
Sure.
and I know that there's a lot of Division III schools that have women wrestling, and they do a good job, and it would be great to see it at Nebraska Wesleyan also, right?
Right. I think our school is open to it. We're not there yet. We the
one
facility.
program at a time, right?
Yep. But because we have other sports that are trying to keep getting better. So I think in the future it's probably a conversation that's definitely going to happen. But
That's great. Talking about freestyle Greco, it's freestyle Greco season. I see that you were a big freestyle Greco guy. You All-American. How important, like when you're recruiting kids and you're talking to kids in high school and they're asking, what do I need to do for the next level? How do I need to get better? And kids growing up, how important is it for them to experience that side of the sport?
it's huge because for us, at first it shows that they're doing more than just the November through February high school season. And not that you have to, but it shows another level of dedication because for us, we start official practice on the mat October 10th, and our regional tournament is the end of February. And if you qualify for nationals, then you have 2 more weeks. So October through March, pretty much. It's longer than a lot of kids have done, and it's harder. College is just harder. Even if you're a blue chip, then you're still getting beat up by a coach every day in practice. So that's important, but then just having different skills because maybe you're a leg attack guy and you get somebody that's way better at leg attacks than you have to slow them down. So you need to know a Russian tie, an underhook, and just giving you more tools in your arsenal of moves to wrestle in different positions and wrestle different opponents.
Yeah, I was talking to a coach earlier today as we're going into that season, and he said to me, "Did you watch the Aruja matches this year at NCAA?" And I said, "Yeah, he looked really good." He said most of those moves that he was using were freestyle moves. And so when they say how important is freestyle to your folk style, I mean I mean, I know he's one of those 1%ers, but you can see how important his freestyle game was into those matches, right? And that's what he said. So again, that's why we focus on this, and plus the experience. My son only got to experience Fargo once, but I'm so happy he got to experience that, because what an experience that is. And to be part of your state team and to represent your state and to be out there with all the kids from your state, and just to have that camaraderie and that feel, it was really fun. And I know you do that there in Nebraska, with what you're doing over there. Man, I'm really I'm really glad I got a chance to meet you and talk to you a little bit about your college. And I I I hope you get to see more kids coming out there and showing up and giving you a look. And I know we have big tournaments that happen all the time in the South, and I'm sure they would welcome they welcome all the colleges to come in and show up and walk around and recruit and talk to kids. I hope to see you around at some of those. That would be that'd be fun. We have
Definitely.
our qualifiers and we have the knockout, and we've got a bunch of good stuff. So that was good. And then if you guys are doing any camps during the summer, things like that, feel free to post it on my groups and post it in my stuff so that people see. Because I know uh, uh, kids should see how much is available, right? I know we do some camps, some great camps down here in our state, but I know sometimes it's good to pick one outside of our state and go kind of see what other kids are doing and other things. Like, I always see how someone else thinks, see what their process is. Why are they so good? What are they doing? Are they waking up at 4:30 in the morning? Are they running more laps than you are? Are they climbing more rope? Or what are those things? So I'd love to see it. How do people, if people want to get a hold of you, they go on the website, I'm sure, and they fill out one of those the papers to come for a visit. They can reach out to you online on Facebook, right?
Yep. On Twitter, my handle is at Husker Grappler, and then our school sports website is NWUsports.com, and then you can find wrestling and see everything you need there. But
No, is
we've
there
had
anything that you wanted to talk about your school? I mean, I know I kind of guided it and tried to ask you questions geared around that. Did I miss anything? Is there anything else you want to discuss about the school? Get out there.
one thing I was going to add. So I mentioned we had 20 freshmen and 16 of them were out of state. So we have a deal with 7 different states: New York, Florida, Colorado, Utah, Nevada, California, and I believe Arizona is the last one where they don't have to pay an out-of-state tuition. They get a really good tuition break because our university is trying to bring in more out-of-state kids. And so, as you were saying earlier, people say, "Oh, it's 50 grand to go to a D3 school." Nobody pays that. There's if you can if you if you if you get admitted, like you have good enough grades, then they're going to cut probably at least 10 grand off of that. That sticker shock price really gets a lot of people.
Right.
But it's weird. In Nebraska, we have like 1.8 million people, but we have a Division 1 program, 2 Division 2 programs, and I think we have maybe 4 NAI schools. I might be missing one, but then there's a junior college in Council Bluffs, which is just East Omaha, basically. So we have 7 different programs here. Oh, sorry, 8, including us. And so
Yep.
we're the only Division 3 program. So we're a little bit different, and uh, sometimes we struggle to get Nebraska kids because they're used to just everything else except Division 3. So, and we get that money's an issue, but at the end of the day, I know as a parent, I'm trying to do everything I can that financially, when my kids get older, if they're wanting to compete or if they're not wanting to compete, but whatever school that is, I want to try and support them, especially if it's a good fit for them. And we always tell our recruits and wrestlers, the 4 years here at Wesleyan are going to set you up for the next 40 years of your life. So we want to add a lot of value on the mat and with the academics that we offer.
Yeah, I remember I spoke to a coach. Man, where was the coach at? And I've used that line now forever. The 4 = 4 to set you over 40. I forget who I was talking to during COVID, and he said, "Yeah, that's the one thing that I tell. I'm trying to these 4 years set you up for the next 40." And it's so true, which is why, and people will sit back and say, well, that's easy to say if you have money, or that's easy to say if you can afford it. Well, it's not that whether you can afford it or not. I'm saying interview the program first. See if it's a fit for your child first, and then if Nebraska Wesleyan offers everything your child is looking for, then have that conversation. There's no sense in putting that before the. I get it. Look, if your kid's being recruited by Ohio State, Iowa, Cornell, Penn State, yeah, well then it's a money negotiation there, right?
Yeah.
But for all the rest of us living in this world, find the right fit, right? I mean, wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely. Yeah. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah. So we get it. It's a little different at that 0.5% of our athlete that can go there, and good for them. Go there, do that. Yeah, have at it, right?
Yeah.
I don't think that these Division III schools are trying to recruit your high level Division I athlete. I think there's kids out there that are kind of Division I, or believe they're Division I, or think they can make Division I, but they're not told, hey, look, Division II is okay, Division III is okay. I mean, there's a lot of opportunity down there, and then you look around the MMA world, look around the UFC world, look around a lot of these businesses, high level businesses on Wall Street, and doctors and lawyers and that. I mean, a lot of them came from those schools.
Yep.
I think
I know
they do a good job.
Right.
I think so, my opinion. But yeah, I'll get attacked. They'll tell me, well, yeah, that's because that's what you chose, blah, blah, blah. What if your kid was this? And okay, well, if my kid was that, then I would have been looking at where I thought my kid was, right? And then, of course, it's a money grab, right? But I think for a school like Nebraska Wesleyan, go see if you like it. Go check it out. Just give them an opportunity to talk to you and show you the program, show you the campus, and I think he would tell you, if you like it, great, we'll figure it out. If you don't like it, then go somewhere else, right? I think it's easy, right?
Right.
Easy. Yeah. So, cool, man. But listen, Lincoln, Nebraska is a great place, a great town, a big college town. I mean, if you're looking to get that college experience, it's one of those towns I would put on your list and go check it out.
Yep. And even if you can't make it here to visit us during COVID and the year and a half after COVID, we did virtual visits where we FaceTimed recruits and walked them around campus with our phones, showed them our facility, and we had a lot of kids commit not being on campus ever, and then just deciding, hey, here's an opportunity to continue my wrestling career. And yeah, we've just been running with it. One thing I wanted to add, it just popped in my head regarding recruiting. A fellow college wrestling coach here in Nebraska at the NAIA level, when I talked to him 5 years ago, he said, if you're the levels of coaches that are recruiting your son is probably a pretty good indication of where your son should be. So, like you said, if you're getting recruited by Penn State's, Cornell's, those top 10 D1 programs every year, you're probably a D1 level. But if you're only getting maybe one of those and a lot of D2 coaches and D3, then you're probably somewhere in the middle. And
yeah, or NAIA, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And you see a lot of I watched Division II, Division III NAIA wrestling, and it's good, man. It's fun, and if you're a kid that just wants to be a college athlete and get an education, and your dream was to play your sport at the college level, don't give up on that dream. I mean, I know I had twins on my show during COVID. Awesome kids. And when they came out of college, or when they came out of high school, they had that mentality. It was D1 or bust, right? And they ended up at, I think it was North Dakota or South Dakota, wherever. South Dakota. I think it's South Dakota, the Division One where Steph Gross was.
Oh, yep, South Dakota State, sure.
So they end up there. The Portillo twins. They end up there, and they're like, man, it's not for us. So one goes off to NAIA, one goes off to Division II, and they end up saying, man, best decisions we ever made was to do that and go to these smaller schools and experience the college life a little bit differently. And they turned out great, and they've got their own little podcast going now, and they're shouting out all the wrestling stuff. And there's an example of success going the opposite direction, right? And yeah, so there's a lot of stories out there like that where they ended up thinking that was the only opportunity they had, and they really had more.
Yep, it doesn't have to be D1 or bust, or D2 or even D3 or bust. It depends on what your goals are and what fit you need. If your goal is to be on a Division I program and be a practice partner, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you want to, you could be that, or you could be the man at a smaller division and have a little more personal experience and be set up better with alumni from your school for the rest of your life.
Which is huge. I know, because I talk to people now that graduated from schools at all levels, and the relationships they have with the alumni and the booster clubs and all those people have helped them get huge opportunities in life, get jobs, get careers, move on, and it's very important. But man, this has been great, man. I really appreciate you coming on here. Really fun to meet you. Great room in the background. And I'll make sure to get this out to everybody. And it was a good time.
Yeah. Thank you again for having me, Daniel. I appreciate it, man.